So, once again, I'm Andy Turenne, and that hasn't changed. So, we welcome you all here, and thank you, Michael, for indulging me and letting me talk. That's something I like to do, so thank you. So, do you ever have one of those moments when you just kind of smack your forehead and you say, what the hell was I thinking? You know, yeah. Or someone in your circle of friends or your family does something absolutely dumb, stupid, and you say, what in the world were you thinking? Yeah, we've all had those moments. And, yeah, what was I thinking? What were you thinking? I'm going to start because I want to share something with you, and he's going to play a piece of music that some of you may know this gentleman, Reverend Andy Anderson. He and his wife Bonnie they're co-pastors of a church in Roseburg, Oregon. And I knew him from when he was down in Fremont, and he would stop by Marysville once in a while and entertain us. And some of you who have been to Asilomar would know him because he was quite a guy, quite a singer. Anyway, I want to share his words about what you're thinking about. So if you go ahead and just play that for us.
I'm always thinking. You're always thinking. Do you really think what you think about? I'm always thinking. You're always thinking. Do you really think what you think about? Do you think love? Do you think peace? Do you think about joy and harmony? I know I'm always thinking, and you're always thinking. But do you really think what you think about? I know that thoughts are things. My thinking always brings the perfect change into my life. There's only one supply, and when I change my mind, I see things in a brand new way. And then I bless the Spirit in me, release the love that is me, give thanks and oh, I think anew, 'cause I am brand new. And no, I'm always thinking, and you're always thinking. But do you really think what you think about? I wanna know. I'm always thinking, and you're always thinking. Do you really think what you think about? Do you think love? Do you think peace? Do you think...
Yeah. So, Reverend Andy's CDs are available on CD Baby. There's a lot of great CDs on there. So, but the whole thing is yeah, do you really think what you're thinking about? Give that some thought. Yeah. So, the mind is constantly working, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, and we do things kind of in an automatic mode. Wake up in the morning, you hit the bathroom, do the coffee, then whatever is next, and without even thinking about it. Or some of you would drive to work or wherever you go in the morning on a regular basis, and you get there and you don't even remember driving there. Yeah. Or how about when somebody says something to you in the morning and you're just rattle off, yeah, okay, yes, dear, whatever it is, and later on somebody says to you, so says something about what they were talking about in the morning, and you say, well, what are you talking about? What do you mean? So. Yeah, it's kind of a game that we play, in our minds, and we don't even know about it. So, just for you guys out there, I'm gonna, I'm sure that you gals have had this experience too, but definitely, this really applies to the guys because we've all been there. So, you ever been in one of these real animated discussions with, I say animated, with a loved one or a spouse or whatever, and the conversation gets a bit more animated, and you just want to get out of there, and so you just blurt something out, and out it comes, and oh my God, it just left your lips, and you know you're going off of that cliff like Wile E. Coyote, you know, whoom. And you're looking back, and you know that all that's coming ahead of you is a big splat. Yeah, a big splat, and you get the bird looking down on you in shock and disbelief. What were you thinking? Apparently you weren't. The mouth is in gear before the brain. I mean, the mouth is moving before the brain is in gear, you know. So, you know, yeah, Abe Lincoln once said, "It's better to be silent and be thought of as a fool than to speak out and remove all doubt." So, yeah. On the other hand, if you're really thinking, you might be able to do something like this. A police officer pulls over this driver for speeding. And he comes up to him, and this following exchange goes on. And the officer says, "Can I see your license?" The man says, "I don't have one. It was suspended on my 5th DUI." And he says, "Can I see the registration for the vehicle?" And the gentleman says, "It's not my car. I stole it." So the police officer says, "It's a stolen car?" He says, "Yeah, that's right." He said, "But come to think of it, I think I saw the registration in a glove box when I was putting my gun in there." And the officer says, "There's a gun in a glove box?" "Yes, sir. I put it in there just after I shot and killed the woman who owns the car and stuffed her in the trunk." So the officer says, "A body in the trunk?" And then the officer just gets on his radio and he immediately calls the captain, and the captain comes over, and in a heartbeat, the whole car is surrounded by a whole bunch of policemen. And the captain walks over to him and he says, "Let me see your license." And he says, "Sure, here it is." And it was valid. And then the captain says, "Whose car is this?" He says, "It's mine. Here's the registration." So the driver owned the car. So the captain says, "Could you slowly open your glove box so I can see if there's a gun in there?" And the guy says, "Oh, sure, I'll open the glove box, but there's no gun in there." So he said, "Would you mind opening the trunk? Because you told the officer that there's a body in it." And he says, "No problem." He opens the trunk and there's no body. So the captain says, "Well, I don't understand it. The officer who stopped you said that you told him that you didn't have a license, you stole the car, and that there's a gun in the glove box and a body in the trunk." And the driver says, "Yeah, and I'll bet that lying SOB told you I was speeding too." So there you go. This guy was thinking, see? He was thinking. Yeah. So all jokes aside, Ernest Holmes says that thoughts are things, right? We all know that. What we focus on is what we get. And so in the current political climate, as Michael had pointed out, you can make yourself crazy by focusing on appearances and what's presented on the media, and or you can ease your mind by focusing on the truth. And what is the truth? What is the spiritual truth? Now, I have to confess that in this past week or so that I've had my share of focusing on appearances and Because everything is just so horrendous. I mean, let's face it, it's hard to avoid sometimes. It's hard not to get wrapped up in all of that ugliness that goes on out there. It took me until just a few days ago to give myself a palm slap to the head and say, stop, what's the matter with you? As they say where I come from. What are you thinking? And when I think about that and I say to myself, you know, you've had all this training, you do counseling, you teach classes, you treat people. Now you're right there in the muck and the mire of the pundits and politicians and all of that. So it's really a reality check for me when I get there sometimes. I have to think about, what is it that I truly believe? I pause and I take the time to think of what it is that I'm thinking about. And what would I tell a client who comes into me and says, you know, the world is going to hell in a handbasket and I just can't handle it anymore? Well, when I get there, that's always an awakening moment for me. You see, when I'm doing spiritual counseling or treating for others, I'm doing it for me. I put myself in the role of a client seeking help, and it's always a revelation to me, and I have to get serious about what's going on here. Now, Ernest Holmes says in Science of Mind that one of the first things that a practitioner has to do is to separate belief from the believer. And that's truly what we do. From the standpoint of spiritual man, disease, poverty, unhappiness, and misery are neither person, place, nor thing. End of quote. Their conditions and their appearances. In other words, those things are not who I am. And so when I'm looking at the world, whatever I'm seeing out there, that's not who I am. I have to look at, it's not my truth. It's not your truth. It's not who you are. Now, I'm not saying that those things are not happening. And I'm not saying that we pretend that they don't. So whether it's the world out there that we're seeing, or it's a personal thing like illness and all of this stuff here, I'm not saying that you're not experiencing that, because you are experiencing that. You're in this world, but you're not of this world. That's what I'm talking about here. In The Science of Mind on page 184, Dr. Holmes also says this, and it's very, very important. And I'm going to read you this quote so that we get it. The truth is indivisible and whole. God is complete and perfect. A perfect cause must produce a perfect effect. Disregarding all evidence to the contrary, the student of truth will maintain that he lives in a perfect universe among the potentially perfect people. He will regulate his thinking to meet his necessity and will refuse to believe in the opposite. At first, he may be influenced by the conditions, which we all are. And he may appear to be weak. But as time goes on, he will prove to himself that his position is the correct one. Now here's the clincher. For that which appears to be imperfect will begin to slip from his experience. Let me repeat that again. For that which appears to be imperfect will begin to slip from his experience. In other words, it's seriously done unto you as you believe. And if you believe that this is who you are, and if you believe that the illness is who you are, and what goes on in the world is who you are, then that is exactly what you're going to feel and what you're going to attract to yourself. So the trick is to get into the truth. So what is the spiritual truth? What is it that I am? So what Dr. Holmes is saying is that you need to understand that those negative appearances and projections of the ego mind, and you need to set those appearances aside. Set those appearances aside and go to the truth. You need to firmly push away what your ego mind wants you to see and believe. Because the ego, the ego mind, the language of ego is fear. It really is. It really is. And we're always when we're in fear, we're in the ego mind. So if we look at what the spiritual truth is in the language of spirit, which is what we are, the language of spirit is love. And that's why in what Michael read this morning, that's what the emphasis is you look at love. You look at you get into what is that truth. So you firmly push these ideas aside. You need to speak to the attributes of God like a mantra. God is love. God is light. God is life. God is peace. God is beauty. And God is joy. And the great thing about it is that's what you are. That's what I am. We are a manifestation of the Creator. We're created in the image and likeness. God created each one of us out of infinite love and its desire to express itself in this universe. And when we forget that, we get wrapped up in the ego, we get wrapped up in all of these appearances, and it scares the hell out of us. So we need to move from the ego and move from the fear into the love, into where we are. These are your attributes. This is the truth. You know, the old expression is, even if you have to fake it until you make it, that's really where you got to go. Keep your focus on the spiritual truth, your truth. Your truth has nothing to do with others around you, because how you respond is your choice. It has nothing to do with others around you. It has nothing to do with appearances or the media. Your truth is not Facebook. Your truth is not Twitter. Your truth does not change. You know, even if you don't believe it, it's waiting for you to claim it. You see, the spiritual laws of the universe are exactly like the laws of nature, the laws of the universe, the laws of science. Neil deGrasse Tyson says this about science. The thing about science is that it doesn't make any difference whether you believe it or not, it's still true. Well, this is science. This is religious science. This is science of mind. That's why we take the classes. That's why we're always opening to learn. Not because we're ignorant of the world. We're opening to learn about ourselves and what makes us tick. And when we can understand these things, boy, life is a whole lot easier. Well, what you think and what you believe are profound. They have an impact on your life, both positive and negative. Thoughts indeed are things. What you think, and even more importantly, what you embody and what you feel are what you're going to get in your life. It is the law of attraction. That's what that's all about. If you believe the world is going to hell in a handbasket, then that's what you're going to experience. If you accept and believe in fear and hatred and ugliness portrayed around you, then you're going to be feeding the flames of hatred and fear and all of those things. You're going to see more of it in your life. However, if you believe that divine love and infinite is far greater than any appearance in your life, in your body, in your affairs, then you're right. You'll be fanning the flames of love and harmony and prosperity in your life. You know, we tell the Sunday school kids, when I was teaching Sunday school for many years, is that God always says yes. So, if you're thinking life sucks, God says, yes, your life sucks. That's how it works. On the other hand, if you're thinking, you know, life is good, and God says, yeah, life is pretty good. So the interesting thing is that you're this infinite being, and God can only work through you to create the experiences of your life with you. And God always says yes. You're in control. Yeah, I was telling somebody yesterday is when I come into this teaching, what I learned is that I'm responsible for everything that goes on in my life. Well, that's kind of a double-edged sword, right? I mean, boy, that is so liberating. I can do whatever I want in my life, and on the other hand, I'm responsible for everything that goes on in my life. Wow, it can be pretty scary. So, you know, it's the thing which you have to think about is that in a very simple form, when you say things like, I am, and whatever follows that, God is saying yes. All right? So, oh, I'm tired. Yep. I'm broke. I'm poor. Yep. You are. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling energized. I'm feeling like I want to conquer the world. And God is saying, yeah. So the universe is on your side. There is nothing in the universe or in nature that is against you. It's always for you. So God is always right here agreeing with you when you're saying yes. So you can change your thinking, and you'll change your life. I mean, that's simple. That's one of the very premises of religious science. So I'm going to offer you a very simple little spiritual practice that you may want to consider. You can, modify it to make it your own. But it's very simple. If every morning, whether it's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you can set aside, is to take the time and just sit quietly. Just sit quietly and think about those attributes of God that I spoke about. Love, light, life, peace, power, joy, beauty. Or you could even put your own, incredible, vibrant health, opulent wealth, perfect, loving relationships. Those are all of these things. They're your divine inheritance. So you can focus on one or all of them. But just take that and close your mind and focus on that and how that is, how you want it in your life and how it is without any judgment. Without any judgment. And you don't focus on what you don't have because you are don't going to have it for a long time. But that's some strange English there. Anyway. So know that all of the things are what you are. All of those attributes is what I was talking about. Those are the things that you are. And then during the day, if you do get sucked into some negative conversations or appearances that's going on around you, you can just step aside. You can step aside, take a deep breath, and you know that there is a far greater truth that indwells you and surrounds you always. Just knowing that what you're seeing is not the truth. The truth is that you are loved. The truth is that you are surrounded by infinite grace. You are surrounded by the arms of love, always. So if you make that that little change, make that a habit, I can guarantee you, you'll never have to worry about what you're thinking about. Thank you. Namaste.